if we're serious about future, then we're going to have to think differently than where we are now. If we're really honest with ourselves, and we look at the conditions of our life right now, if we're really honest, we know we're not well. We're a fear-based reality, a fear-based culture. We're afraid of everything. It's the source of why we don't trust each other. It's a social phenomenon in my head. It's a social phenomenon. And Indian country knows everything about you, but North Americans know nothing about Indian people, nothing worth thinking. We rely on stereotypes, rely on our prejudices, our hatreds, whatever it keeps us. There are a majority of North Americans that don't even know who Indian people are, never met an Indian person, never gone to an Indian community, and certainly don't know what's in the hearts and minds of Indian country. In all my travels, in visiting the relatives of the land, nobody's ever talked about building the big heart and sending you all home. Nobody's ever talked about it. But what they talk about is a meaningful relationship based on trust, based on respect, based on peace and friendship. We keep holding out for that. And the only requirement that Indian country has ever had for the United States, for Canada, the United States, the only requirement that Indian country has always held for them is for them to obey the law, to follow the law. If the United States government and Canada follow the law, which includes the treaties, our societies would know what peace is. Our societies would be living in the foundation of respect. But here you are in a classroom, right? Young people. And when you see the teacher picking on Indian people in the classroom, their peers, making fun of them the whole year, what does that tell them about Indian people, about Indian culture? Because that's the public education I grew up with on Cape Cod. There are people on Cape Cod that just hate Indians. There's certain towns that I can't walk down Main Street window shopping without being harassed by the police. And I've had fun with them, I don't back away with that. It's an opportunity to have a little fun with them. Case in point, just a real brief story. I'm walking for a while I was working at Plymouth Plantation. And I took the bus. I have to take the bus. I'm living in Mashpee, so it's about 50 miles away. It's like walk to the bus station, get up, come back. Bus doesn't go down to the Cape, so I'm walking from Buzzards Bay, where the bridge is, to my home in Mashpee. It's about 20 miles kind of thing. So I'm in the town of Sandwich. And Sandwich is on one side of Mashpee, and Fellowes is on another side of Mashpee. Sandwich is probably the most brutal, racist place when it comes to Indian people. So I'm walking down the highway, right? And ultimately, the squad car comes over, pulls me over. I'm just walking. So wants to know where I am, who I am, where I come from, where I'm going, and all this kind of thing. And I asked him, well, is there some reason why you're pulling me over? He said, well, I was afraid you might jump out into traffic and kill yourself or something like that. So I told him, well, I don't have to tell you who I am. I don't have to tell you where I came from or where I'm going. Unless I'm violating the law, there's no reason for you to be pulling me over. So he's obviously kind of upset. So he gets on the phone, calls his superiors. So 3 other squad cars come. So this big burly guy, big Irish guy, 6'5", 250, And he says, what's your name? I said, I don't have to tell you what my name is. Then he's saying out loud, well, I guess he doesn't know who he is. We'll have to, bring him in. And I said, oh, no, I know who I am. You don't know who I am. Because then he's really livid and he's really red and so forth. And, but at some point they see the wisdom of that. I mean, you can't do anything. But you know, that's the town of Sandwich. And I don't know what it is that they think about, or what it is that Plymouth, town of Plymouth is still harboring. One of the elders depicted in that picture, his name is Frank James, a school teacher in the town of Chatham on Cape Cod. Brilliant man, very articulate. He was invited, Plymouth was having their 350th anniversary of the landing of the Mayflower. He was invited to be a speaker. You know. And so he accepted the opportunity. He wrote out a speech, and the state wanted to see his speech before, and they didn't like what he wrote, and had a speech written for him. Of course, he didn't attend. I have a copy of that speech.
It's in their package.
It's in the package, right. But from that day, 1970, Wampanoag people, with our friends and with our allies, have declared that the American Thanksgiving is a national day of mourning. We don't celebrate Thanksgiving strategically on that day until such time that life shifts between Indian country and America. Not just America, Canada is just like the United States with the treatment of Indian peoples. Until such time, you know, that the government can shift their relationship to Indian country. And this is the hope that I have. You know, because sometimes governments need a little help. You know, they need a little incentive. And that incentive clearly comes from the people that the government is supposed to be representing. If you're willing to sit here with us and be with us, if you're open to become family with us, become family with the land, then I think we have a future together. And I also would say, in respect, you know, for the integrity of the life of the land and the life that we're given from the land, you know, that future has to be molded. It has to be molded to a different way of thinking. It has to be shaped and molded and guided and led by women. Because we are living on a female planet in the context of Wampanoag understanding. We are living on a female planet, and Earth talks to every woman in this room in ways that maybe even the women don't understand. But she's always done. The principle of motherhood is so strong in creation. And this is not to diminish or demean the presence and the voice of men, because we have a profound influence in the shape of our families. Our children need us as much as they need the mothers. The shape of our families, often everywhere, not just in Indian country, but everywhere, the shape of our families are in serious condition because the fathers are not there. The men no longer know how to be men. And I'm serious about that. Because we don't listen to the women. We don't follow their instructions. We don't honor their way of being, their way of understanding life. And until such time that we begin to understand that, you know, and embrace that, then we have a future. But as one of the old Chinese proverbs say, if we don't change our direction, we're going to wind up where we're going.